Because if the sun sets in Antarctica in December and January, then the Earth is not a globe. Not a globe.
And if it doesn't, which is what we're expecting to see, today we're going to dive back into the final experiment. Now, the videos I've made on the final experiment so far have all done really well. And what do I do when a video does really well? I make more of them. And for your viewing pleasure, I've put them all in a playlist, which I've linked below this video. So let's see what arguably one of the most influential flat earthers on the planet has got to say about the final experiment. Please subscribe.
Recently, a wealthy globe Earth proponent named Will Duffy launched a campaign dubbed The Final Experiment.
Okay, so I'm not really sure why you felt the need to reference Will's financial status, because it's completely irrelevant. Unless, of course, you're trying to discredit him, which seems to be a bit of a theme forming with every single flat earther that I've come across who's made a video about the final experiment.
Which he claims will finally settle the globe versus flat Earth debate forever.
And he's right, or at least he would be if any flat earther had an ounce of honesty about them. Instead of trying to discredit Will, why not try and debunk the 24-hour sun in Antarctica? Because that's what the final experiment is all about. That one thing. It's not about Will or his bank account. It's about the truth. And I find it ironic that a lot of flat earthers refer to themselves as truth seekers, yet they don't want to be involved in the final experiment.
If the sun sets in Antarctica in December and January, then the Earth is not a globe.
So what you're saying then, Dave, is that if the sun doesn't set in Antarctica in December and January, that can only mean that the Earth is a globe. I'm just looking for a bit of clarity.
The results of this experiment are allegedly so conclusive that once conducted and completed, all flat earthers will be forced to concede and admit defeat.
What do you mean alleged?
If the sun sets in Antarctica in December and January, then the Earth is not a globe.
Thanks, Dave.
So what is Will's brilliant idea? What is his ingenious experiment to finally silence all globe skepticism? Invite 12 flat Earth YouTubers and 12 globe Earth YouTubers to Antarctica in December to see if there's a midnight sun.
It's nice to see, Eric, that the research you did for this video is on par with the research you do for your flat earth content. It's 24 flat earthers and 24 globe earthers, Eric. At least get that, right? You're not going to get anything else, right? That's for certain.
You f***ing prats.
In other words, the final experiment is not an experiment, and not even a demonstration, but merely an observation.
That's such a stupid thing to say. An experiment without observations is just a bunch of stuff happening with nobody there to say, whoa, did you see that? Observations are the bread and butter of experiments, you clown. They're how we actually know what happened. Without them, an experiment is just a tree falling in the forest with nobody there to hear it.
In typical globe defender strawman fashion, Will is conflating a celestial observation with our terrestrial foundation.
So what you're saying then is stop using space stuff to prove that the Earth is a globe. But isn't that what you were doing in this video? Why isn't Polaris visible from Australia? No, the last time I checked, Polaris was in space. And you were using it to try and prove that the Earth is flat, which it isn't. So how come it's okay for you to use space to prove your point, but not us? Will is saying, let's go to Antarctica and see which one of us is right. And if flat earthers had any conviction in their beliefs, they would be clambering over each other to be the flat earther who's there when you finally prove that the sun doesn't stay in the sky for 24 hours in December and January.
In reality, the existence of a midnight sun in Antarctica no more proves the globe than the non-existence of a midnight sun in Antarctica proves the flat Earth.
No, I partly agree with that statement, Eric, because you're right. The non-existence, as you put it, of a midnight sun in Antarctica wouldn't prove that the Earth is flat. Nothing can prove that the Earth is flat, mainly because it isn't. But the fact that the sun does stay in the sky for 24 hours during December and January in Antarctica is down to one thing, and that is the Earth's tilt on its axis.
A man argument even has any legs to stand on are because a couple suspicious, shilly, so-called flat earthers who I have repeatedly called out as disinformation agents, like Jaren from Jarenism, have claimed that they believe a midnight sun in Antarctica somehow does prove the globe.
Yeah, that's exactly what it proves, and flat earthers are nothing if not predictable. I've said all along that whichever flat earthers agree to go on the final experiment will start getting bullied by other flat earthers, which is what we are seeing here. And basically all it means is other flat earthers, the ones that didn't get picked to go to Antarctica, are either butthurt because they didn't get picked.
You and me, we used to be together.
Or they are terrified that a prominent flat earther like Jeranism will have no option other than to say, I saw the sun in the sky for 24 hours, therefore the earth cannot be flat.
Whether or not there is an Antarctic midnight sun, still water is always level, the horizon is always flat, and there is never any measurable curvature.
Nice red herring, Eric. Still water isn't always flat. Because the Earth is a globe, the horizon most definitely isn't always level, and you can divert people's attention away from the topic as much as you like. The fact still remains that if the sun stays in the sky for 24 hours... Why am I saying if? When the sun stays in the sky for 24 hours in December and January, it is gonna end the flat Earth grift once and for all.
The sun follows a northern and southern circuit in such a manner as to allow for a midnight sun phenomenon in both the Arctic and Antarctic.
What? That literally only happens because of the Earth's axial tilt and its orbit around the sun, creating conditions where the sun doesn't set for extended periods during the summer months in these regions. In the Arctic, you get 24 hours of daylight around the summer solstice in June. In the Antarctic, it happens in December, which is why the final experiment is happening in December.
We have made inquiries from various persons, and we find that the longest day in any place further south than the Tropic of Capricorn increases in length as the latitude increases, or distance south of the observer.
You know, I'm sure he's doing it on purpose in the hopes that if he's confusing enough, nobody will question what he says. But again, Eric, the phenomenon you're talking about only occurs because the Earth's tilt causes longer periods of daylight in higher southern latitudes during their summer, culminating in continuous daylight at the Antarctic Circle. And it's a clear indication of how our planet's tilt and orbit influence the duration of daylight throughout the year.
Whether we can explain these facts is another question.
Yeah, but the globe Earth model, I've got to stop calling it a model. It's not a model, it's a fact. But the globe Earth is able to predict everything you've just said because it's based in reality. The reason you can't make them work on a flat Earth is because the Earth isn't flat.
Other facts we may find, which are proved to be real facts and not fancies, we shall admit. But while admitting them to be true zetics, we'll never give up their primary fact, that the surface of all still water is level, and that the earth, or land portion of the world, therefore, a plane.
Hang on a second, what do you mean the land portion of the Earth? So what are you now saying, that the whole Earth isn't flat? It's just the lands that we live on, because that's what it sounded like. And this is water, not curving, Eric, which makes you wonder where those pylons are disappearing to, doesn't it? It's almost as if they're on a gigantic sphere and the ones in the distance are being hidden because they are beyond the horizon. And this is the playlist I was talking about earlier on in the video. I have compiled all the videos I've made about the final experiment into one playlist for you. If you come across any other flat earthers throwing their toys out of the pram over the final experiment, let me know. You can do so by joining my Discord server, which is linked below. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Love you, bye.
Screw you guys. I'm going home.